Let's get it.
Scotch, bourbon, and rye, yeah, we on that whiskey. Wanna discuss an array of topics, conversation simply. Gonna drop your whiskey bars with the sip hitting for. Could you pass it? You want more? Another glass, let it flow. Steady pour. Steady pour. Yeah, a steady pour. A steady pour of growing, a steady pour of sharing, a steady pour of knowing. Now pass that Glen Carry. So pull up a chair, grab a glass, and enjoy a melanin-infused perspective with a whiskey twist. Yeah, yeah, a steady pour.
Yes, sir. Welcome to another episode of a Steady Pour Podcast. I'm your poor coach, Drew.
Calvin.
Tony, what's up?
And where's Darius?
No Darius.
No Darius. Maybe he'll glitch in soon.
Phase himself in.
Yes, but he's gonna miss out because we have a special guest with us.
We got.
Yes. We got a special guest with us tonight. You may know her as the founder of New Dawn Distilling. You may know her as a scientist bringing fresh perspective into the whiskey space. And you may know her as someone who is pushing the conversation forward when it comes to sustainability, innovation, and what it really means to build something with intention. We're excited to welcome Dr. Dawn O'Neill to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
We're excited.
We're excited. We've been meaning to get you on the podcast for some time now, and we're glad that we were able to schedule some time to hop on. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys for being patient with me. I know it took us, we were supposed to be earlier in the year, and then as usual, shipping problems.
Yes.
We understand.
No, we totally understand. But now we're here. And I just want to just jump right in because you have a brand that's been out for a minute now. But before we go into all that, what made you start your whiskey journey? What made you go from scientist, right, from studying ecology into whiskey?
I mean, I know it doesn't seem like it's related, but it's actually pretty related. I'll say in my family, we're whiskey drinkers. So, like, if you were to sit down, play dominoes, or I don't play spades. Shh, don't tell anyone.
Cut that out.
I tried to learn many times. I am better at the board games than spades. But we would be drinking whiskey. But then when I got to graduate school, I fell in with a group of nerdy scientists, and they put me really on the whiskey journey. That's where we had some really amazing bottles that people were sharing. I don't know where we were getting the money from because we were
college
students. You know what I mean? But it was what money we had, we were spending it on whiskey. And also going to school in Bloomington, Indiana. You're right there near Kentucky, and we used to get some really amazing shit. And so I really did, because I'm a nerd, you kind of do your research and everything, start looking into different distillers, going to a bunch of different tastings, learning the why. And for me, at what I thought, I'm going to open a distillery when I retire. But I had a coach who essentially coached me out of my last job and into this one, because she was like, what would you do if money wasn't an issue and everything? And I'd be like, I would start a whiskey. I said I would do a distillery, but she was like, why don't you do that? I was like, money. And, but she was kept pushing me, and I looked for another path forward and came into, hey, I could do a brand, I could source, I could do that research side of things where I get to meet distillers, learn about the craft and all of that, and maybe down the line I'll open a distillery.
And so when you were in college and you were tasting, was there any particular whiskey that stood out that you remember that you guys were enjoying?
So I remember two things. Well, I'll say three things. One, the first time I had Pappy's, I thought it was terrible.
Okay.
And but that was just my baby palate because I had some. I think it's going to be like 4 years ago now. After my mother passed, my husband bought me a bottle so that like when I was feeling sad, I could pour and then like, toast her and all of that. And then for that bottle, I was like, man, this stuff is amazing. And so I could like see a journey, if you will, of I thought Pappy's was crap. And then I came to appreciate it. But Rittenhouse at the time had a rye whiskey that was like, I think it might have been like 25 years old.
Wow.
And I don't know why it wasn't selling, but my husband got a bottle of it for something like $100. It was stupid cheap. You went to LA, it was crazy. And that, like, I remember thinking when we opened that bottle, I was like, you have to go get another one because I'm a hoarder and I will like literally like see I have this bottle of New Dawn where I'm like, there's just this corner. And I'll be like, oh, I'm hoarding this till the end, which I can tell you now, don't do. It's terrible. That's bad. You got to drink the whiskey.
Yeah, you do.
Absolutely.
The science says you got to drink the whiskey. But so that Rittenhouse 25, and then the first bottle I bought, for whiskey tastings, which was Wild Turkey Tradition. And I was just like, oh my God, that's like, I was so nervous about bringing something to everybody and all of that. And so it just was like, for me, it was like, that's a whiskey that is stuck in my head because like it was my first offering. I was like, here, please don't kick me out of the group.
Offering to the whiskey gods.
Exactly, right?
Yeah, you must have, you were right next to Kentucky. Your first experiences, and you could talk about Pappy, Wild Turkey.
Yeah, we didn't have those at first.
Yeah, no.
That wasn't our first experience.
But truly, I can't tell you how that was my first, like, I don't know when I think back on it, like, because I like when I later, after I graduated and I started out in conservation and everything, and I remember that I was doing this, I had a position where I was both leading a research station and some education programs for K through 12. And they wanted to do an interview type thing. And they were like, okay, so, what are the things you like and whatever. And I was like, oh, I love whiskey. And they're like, well, we don't think that that's an appropriate answer for an educator. And I was like, no, you think that I am talking about like, and no shade to Wild Turkey 101, but Wild Turkey 101, Maker's Mark, and I'm over here like, nah, I'm drinking things that you haven't heard of or the expensive shit, friends. Right. Like when I say I'm an enthusiast, like now it's like I have made my goal this year, especially since I'm in this world of craft distilling and craft whiskey. I will say craft distilling because I just made it my goal this year to try to exclusively drink craft. For me, that's like small distilleries who are pushing the envelope as it relates to how distilling is working, where they're getting their grains, organic grains, regenerative grains. Oh yes, I want to be there. I'll say too, it also comes into background. So it's like, women-owned distilleries, Black-owned distilleries, just because I have noted the differences in palates that you can get across, just sort of reaching out from the sort of same old, if you will. Right. Because it's true, I grew up drinking a lot of Kentucky whiskey, and then it was like, oh wow, they're making some really great stuff out in Colorado, and oh no, now they're doing it in Indiana, and now it's like everywhere. I remember when I first moved to New York, which is where I lived before I moved to New Orleans, and thinking that New York whiskey was like, I don't know, avant-garde, and now it's like, well, that's
Now you open this door, so I'm gonna jump right to this question. Craft. It gets used a lot in whiskey.
I was just about to do that.
But it could mean different things to different people, or it can mean different things. As someone building a brand from the ground up, how do you personally define craft? And what do you think it should represent?
It's so interesting you ask, because I have a person who's helping me with marketing and everything because I don't like. I want to be like, I'm a scientist. But,
Right.
but anyway, and I've been like, I really want to call myself boutique. And she's like, what's wrong with craft? And I'm like, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. Like, it's like,
Right.
thrown around everywhere. Sometimes you talk to people and they're like, craft means small. And other times, because you've got what were small craft brands that are now big and everything, it's like, well, no, it means innovative and, doing different things with grains, blending differently and all that. And so for me, I'm like, well, I still think craft, and again, this is going back to, my origins of whiskey. I still think craft means small.
Right.
I do think that when the time comes that New Dawn is on every shelf across the US and internationally and whatever you want to call it, and I got the big bucks and whatever, and the big boys are knocking on my door like, hey, we'd like to buy you for $2 million. I think I have to give up craft. I'm sorry.
Right.
That's what happens. But for me, I think it's small batches and everything, that innovative side of things. So for example, with New Dawn, one of the reasons why I went with Alton Distillery was because I was looking for that sustainability factor first and foremost. And so it was like, hey, they are working local farmers and everything, organic grains when they can get them. And at this point, it's like, everything is organic, even if it isn't certified, because that certification sometimes can be really hard for small farmers, and they're working with small farmers and everything. But then there's also that side. So it's like, we're already talking about small batches. It's 52 gallon, number 3 char and everything, Kelvin Cooperage. So it's already small batches of whiskey that they're making. But then added on to that, the distiller, Petro, he was married at one point in time to a woman from the Caribbean, and he spent a lot of time down there. So for the 2 whiskeys, the first 2 years, it's at high heat, which nobody does. Most people are like, well, we're going to finish at high heat. But he starts it out, first 2 years, high heat, and then we let New York do what she's going to do and everything. And I think that, I know that's why this is so dark. This is why it's a sick here, and you're like, wow, where is this color coming from? Are there additives? No, there's not even water, no additives. This is straight out the barrel. That's what that looks like. And I really got excited about somebody pushing forward, if you will, in terms of this distilling space of like how we're aging, changing around, or playing with even, how we always do things. So to me, that's what craft is. But I will admit that I want to frequently just say, I'm a boutique whiskey. Especially since my intention is to always offer small amounts. And then I know, that some of the distillers I work with are going to be irritated with me, where I'm going to be like, okay, what's next? Because that was also one of the things that I really remember when I first started getting into drinking whiskey, is there were distilleries who were constantly pushing the envelope, and you could get those experimental expressions and everything. And now nobody does that anymore, or if they do, they're stupid expensive and everything. And so I'm kind of like, yeah, let's get back into that, where there's always something new. Like New Dawn, it's always a new dawn. It's always something new that is coming up on the horizon.
Nice. I'm definitely inclined to being on your side with craft meaning small. Because you definitely have a lot of the bigger brands that are either creating small brands and then, kind of taking over the craft space where their numbers just can outdo everybody else's numbers.
Exactly.
And or finding that craft distiller that is kind of doing some pretty unique things and then just buying them up and just using the name and kind of hiding this monster behind this new brand.
Yeah, I find that it's so, I get asked a lot, what's the legacy of New Dawn? And I'm always like, for me, I'm like, I would love for this to be a family business and to pass it down to my nieces and nephews. And like right now, they're all super enthusiastic, and it's really funny because none of them are old enough to drink, obviously. But they're all like, yeah, we love it and whatever, and like asking, can we follow her online and whatever to see all my videos and stuff. And it's like, so I'm like, it's 21 to follow except for my nieces and nephews. I don't know.
They're all right.
Their parents okayed it and all of that. But I would love to be able to pass it on. But at the same time, there's that part where you're like, if nobody wants to take it, like I have no intention of, shilling off whiskey when I really kind of want to be like when I'm 65 or 70. That's not the lifestyle. I will say my husband has always said, we're retiring at 55. And now that's like, 11, 10 years away or something like that. I'm like, oh, that's kind of close. At least for me.
Can we push that back a little bit?
Right. 55 feels different these days.
Yeah, right.
It definitely
But I don't want to be working
does.
for forever.
Right.
So if somebody buys it, then for me, I always say if none of my nieces and nephews want it, then I totally feel like I would sell it and give them the money with the stipulation of you have to start something.
Right.
Like you have to start your own business.
This is a VC loan.
Exactly.
This is not just buy a new car with it.
Exactly. I'm like, we're not about that lifestyle. My dad he thought about it. He said, I thought about getting you and your sister a car. And then I was like, I didn't have a car. And I was like, whatever
Different time
happened
period. Totally different time period.
Are we supposed to be lifting up the next generation?
Right.
No.
I like your definition when you were talking about small. You were talking also, if I was going to be ultra conservative, which about that definition, I think I was saying before it was, yes, small, but you have a distillery. You're sourcing locally from farmers. But then you're sort of like also expanding it a bit for me. You're sourcing from a craft distillery, so that would then make you also a craft brand.
Yeah.
So when you were deciding, it sounded like that was important to you. Can you talk about that in terms of when you were deciding who to source from or who to work with? You wanted craft and sustainability and sourcing locally. Why was that important to you?
Well, so the sustainability side of things, because it fit. That's essentially like my life, if you will. So like I went and was like, okay, I'm gonna get a degree in sciences and whatnot, and it was always like to save the world. And especially when I was finally like, okay, I'm gonna step outside of the lab here, and I'm getting into conservation. And so, working with these big organizations who, admittedly, like that's what they are like, we're just saving the world and all of that. And so for me, it was, I didn't want to give that piece of myself up where I was trying, I know it's like, how can we save the world with whiskey? And that's where, actually, because this is Earth Month and everything. So we have an entire series going on this Earth Month talking about how the aspects of whiskey and everything are also important to the environment. So how clean water is super important for having quality whiskey. You can't have contaminants and everything because that's going to, impede fermentation. That's going to change the flavors that are created. We're talking about sustainable agriculture and how you get better grains when you're using local and organic, when they're not commercial, because you're going to end up with people growing grains that are for flavor as opposed to, a lot of distilleries use commercial and everything. And it's like, that's not grown for flavor. That's grown to feed cows and chickens and everything. Like, let's just be honest about that. And are distillers still doing amazing things with those conventional grains? Yes. But you could have, I will say, superior quality product with, those local organic grains where you're growing for flavor. And so for me, and then we're talking even about oaks, the American oak, which is so crucial for, for bourbon in particular and everything, given that it has to be aged in American oak, and how we have this huge oak crisis in front of us where, trees are dying because of disease and deforestation. And like, how are we looking towards the future? Because it takes 60 years to get a tree big enough for you to use for a barrel and everything. So we can't sit there twiddling our thumbs like, oh, okay, that's going to happen later and all of that. So for me, that whole conservation thing, I was like, oh my God, we're never going to have great whiskey anymore if we aren't also trying to protect the environment, or as I like to say, save the world. So I want to be like, drink more whiskey and save the world.
Right. I like that. That should be a t-shirt.
Right?
Exactly. That is definitely a New Dawn t-shirt.
100%.
I'll add it to the list of t-shirts that
There
I
we
should
go.
be, be offering.
The first one we offer is for free.
Oh, the first idea. After that, you guys want to cut?
Hey.
What's your rate?
I mean,
We'll
take
talk
bottles.
about it. We'll talk about it.
But so that aspect was important to me. But then also that craft, or I should say that small distillery side of things, intentionally not going to one of the larger places that people source like MGP and everything, simply because I did want, truly in the back of my mind has always been those experimental expressions. And I don't know why they have gone out of favor. I'm gonna guess because you can't do a million of them, or you can't do large volume is what I mean to say of them.
And they're riskier.
But, and they're risky, but that's the exciting part. And so to me, I'm like, how can I help keep risk taking in the market, if you will? And so for me, I'm like, give me your risky blend, give me your that risky mix that you did, of grains and whatever, the ones where you played around with, both fermentation or how it was aged and everything. Let me taste that and everything, because I bet that's what I'm looking for, because I bet that the risk I'm taking is that I think that that's what people are looking for, is they don't want everything to taste the same. You want to be able to say, today I want something bold and rich and spicy and whatnot, or tomorrow I want something light and tropical and whatever. And so that's really where I feel like it was important to me to sort of get in with smaller distillers to be able to support that risk taking moving forward.
Makes sense to me.
And then you mentioned earlier, you chose, Dawn, it's in your name, but you said, but why else? Why New Dawn?
So it's actually a accident, not necessarily intentional. The name, I wanted the name to be Second Son, which is, and that would have been S-U-N, which is an inside joke within my family. My dad is one of 14, and we had this big gathering of all the family, and we were going around essentially, and we were supposed to say, hi, my name is Dawn, and I am William's oldest child, and whatever you want to call it. And instead I said, for some reason, I don't know, I was listening to everybody else. I said, hi, my name is Dawn, and I'm my father's second son. And it was all this whole laughter. But my sister has always had me now in her phone as, I was daddy's second son on the voicemail and whatever. And then my sister had me in as, second son. And that's why, if you'll see my personal accounts are like Dr. Two Son and everything. So it was supposed to be Second Son, but there is distillery out there called Second Son, S-O-N, and they were like, you're not going to be able to trademark that. And so I was like, well, I still want this idea of sun and light and moving forward and new day and that type of thing. And I had an entire list of names that I had pulled together and whatever you want to call it. And my sister was looking at the list and she was like, oh, I like that one, New Dawn. And it wasn't even on the list. She just read 6 lines, new and dawn together. And it worked because one, I mean, I love Nina Simone, but it was like, and truly that was like one of the things that sort of popped in our head is like, yeah, that's what it is. It's, it's a new dawn. It's a new day. We are like looking to the future. We're looking to both preserve, whiskey and the environment and all of that. But also like, I'm, as a Black woman stepping into this industry and everything, like, it's a new dawn, okay? A new dawn where I could even have the dream of starting my own whiskey brand and all of that. And so it came together, and it really sort of encompassed what I was trying to do. And it just so happened, like, I was real awkward about it at first because I was like, oh, but it's like named after me. And I can't remember who it was. Somebody was like, do you know how many men name shit after themselves?
Right. You better do it.
No, that's right. You were fighting the obvious choice because you didn't want it named after you.
Exactly. I felt like I was like, everybody's gonna think I have this big head, and I'm like, that's not my deal, and whatever.
And even if you did, that's fine.
Like, exactly.
That's
right?
Well, let's get into the whiskey a little bit. Let's get into this. Well, not a little bit, because we've already been.
I've been sipping.
We've been sipping on this thing. It's about to be half a bottle right about.
I'm trying to crack that other one.
Yeah. You went and you currently have 2 offerings. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's correct.
And so the first one that we open up is the white label here.
The 6-year-old bourbon.
Okay.
Yes. Cask strength.
Yes.
Cask strength.
And I mean, that is also, I really want to be like, well, I don't.
I feel like you're always going to be cash strength.
Sometimes, some days is easier than other not to throw shade on other people. Because I really want to be like, no shade, truly. But I am a cask strength girly.
Right.
I feel like it is the most democratic way to serve alcohol. Because you give it to you, this is exactly what it tastes like outside of the barrel. You know it's good. I didn't have to add anything to it to change the flavors and whatever. But also it's like, if you're an experienced drinker, you can be like, yeah, I'm going to sip this neat. Or as like when I have converted my sister, but it was like, oh, at first she had to have ice in it. And she really only had went with cocktails and all of that. And it's like, and that's like so many people you're like, that's great. Yeah. You can make it into whatever you want. I also think cask strength makes superior cocktails, period. I don't know why we are diluting. It's like, do we want to taste the whiskey or no? And so for me,
a lot of people don't.
Yeah, I'm a cask strength girly. It's the most democratic. What can I say?
That's another T-shirt.
I know. I like that.
What? Do you want to taste the whiskey or
Cask
no?
strength cocktails.
We will be charging for that.
Cask strength cocktails. That's good.
You got to see how many T-shirts you can come out of this interview.
Right. We're gonna have a whole lineup for the summertime.
Right? I'll just call it the steady pour lineup.
Hey, don't
Don't a good time.
I must say, I think I fell into that maybe stereotype because I normally get the first pour, right, of the night. If it's going to be the first pour of whiskey.
Warm up.
It's a warm up. I like to call it a primer. So
Palate primer.
And we were like, oh yeah, what do you want to taste before New Dawn? And I said like, well, we can start with the New Dawn. We'll take whichever one.
Small batch.
Yeah, the small batch. And I assumed it was 100 proof or lower. Like I immediately assumed. And it was like, no, this is
116.
This is 116
plus 117
plus
117.4.
Oh,
yes.
Look at that.
I mean, I think I was surprised. I was surprised at that. I was like, oh wow, her first release of cask strength. That's awesome.
But it doesn't drink like 117. Like, and that's the part where I was talking with a friend, and it's like, this isn't 99 cherries, guys. Like, we are talking Everclear. I just want that to be clear to everybody. It's like, yes, it is. It's a high proof whiskey. Both of them are the same proof, actually. And it really is just like, let's be bold with our flavor. And if you're like, oh, too much spice and everything, add some ice to it. The 10-year makes a wonderful old fashioned. the bourbon, I mean, I have so many cocktails on the website made with the bourbon and everything. And although I will say, somebody was telling me, they're like, you need some lower ABV cocktails and everything for the summer. And I'm like, why?
No.
Again,
No, you don't.
You want to take the whiskey.
Right. There's other people that do that.
Right.
In every cocktail, ma'am.
And if you're making a cocktail, just make it at a slightly different ratio.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Just you drink less. That's. I was really gonna be like, nobody told you had to drink all of that. That's
Right.
I had a question about your mash bill here. So it says,
Yes.
all the New York ingredients, New York corn, but the New York red winter rye. That's interesting. I
Yes.
don't know if I've ever saw
Yes.
that on a mash bill.
And
Like-
that's so that was like, when digging into some of the distilleries, because I was like, I didn't think that rye was like a New York thing. And
Right.
Pedro was telling me that they worked with farmers to get rye so it could be locally sourced rye. So it was like, take a chance on us. We promise we're going to buy, your product and everything. And so they worked with farmers to get them to plant rye so that they could then put it in their whiskeys. And I again, for me, I was like, yes, because that to me suggests so much more than just making whiskey. That is an investment in your community. And that is exactly, I'll say that's part of the reason why I left working with some of the bigger conservation organizations, because conservation is just, and whiskey are very similar in that they really do need to be happening at the community level. You need to be again, how can we support this community? We've got this distillery, what are we doing? Alton, what are we doing with our waste and everything? Are we becoming a burden to the community around us? Or are we working to help? Are we donating our, spent mash and everything? Are we working with farmers and saying, hey, we will buy your stuff, as opposed to just going commercial? Yeah, it's going to be a little more expensive and everything, but that means quality in the end. That means the community is invested in, you're investing in the community and all of that. And for me, that is just so much the ethos of me and of what I wanted out of this company.
And I would say to me, and I could think I could speak for all of us as whiskey drinkers, and we're used to seeing mash bills, right? And what's usually on there, that stands out to me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. And you want to know more about that, you know what I mean? That sustained grain, and okay, what is that? How does that, how can we dial that in and figure out what that is? So I think that's really cool. And
I have to say, from my perspective, on the palate and everything, because the 10 has it's almost like just a sprinkling and whatever. But I happen to think that rye is spicier first, and so it's it is just, you don't need a lot,
right?
But when you add it, it's just enough to add that little kick to be oh yeah, there's rye in there. Not overpowering and everything. It can be nice and in the background with those other grains. I was so blown away in terms of the commitment to the community. And then I was like, oh, well, and it also tastes good.
On top of it. I love when it works out like that.
Right? I mean, because when I ended up working with a company to help me source and everything, MHW, which is actually a distributor, they have this program. Yeah, I think it's Brand Arc, and Ian Perez, he's an angel. So I sent this brief, and I was like, here's what I was like. Bear with me. This is just I'm new to this whole entire sort of industry and whatever, and I'm going to talk about this the way I talk about whiskey. And maybe I'll just preface this by saying that I did at one point in time tell the Jack Daniel's master distiller, I was at a tasting in Indianapolis. He was at the end of the tasting. I don't know why the tasting was huge. It was this big store. It was I don't even know how many. I will admit I was drunk, and I told him that his whiskey, that I was Jack Daniel's tastes like barnyard. Okay, so just so we are clear, that is how I frequently, I'm just raw and whatever. And I was I want these flavors and whatever, and I was and I wanted to evoke, because you'll note on the back of the bottle, it talks about the vibe. And I was like, I wanted to evoke this type of vibe and everything. And, you know, and I was like, for my first offering, I really was like, I want it to be a boss lady whiskey. I want that to be a whiskey where, you know, if mad men were mad women, we would be,
Ooh, I like that.
we would be pouring that, you know, we would be pouring that whiskey every time we, you know, hit our goals and all of that.
That's another T-shirt.
And-
Mad women.
Right.
You're just there. Yeah, got the Mad Men logo on there.
serving
We
them
don't want
up.
to get sued, but you know, something. I think we can work it out.
You could definitely work it out.
But
Absolutely.
I like now I lost my train of thought because I'm stuck in my head thinking mad women.
Mad women.
I know.
It's a
You're
good
designing
idea.
a T-shirt in your head right now.
I was like, I really do need that. Oh, because I was talking about like the vibe and how I was sourcing and everything. And so it was kind of like a blah on a page. And I thought that he was going to come back with like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different distilleries that fit my brief. And then he was like, okay, I'm sending you 15 different samples. And I was like,
Wow.
say what? Like, I just did not expect that to be the case. And yes, I think that, you know, Alton sent me their entire portfolio and everything, but I was still surprised by both the number of distilleries that were doing sustainable efforts and everything, the number of small, like trying to be experimental and everything, and then like who were willing to essentially put forth to their cask strength offerings, because I do think that and I will even give you for the 10-year, Pedro was like, I think you should bring it down. And I was like, no, you are wrong. I mean, and I did try. I pulled out my scale. I had my droppers and whatever. And I proofed it down with, you know, the triple filtered water. And I was like, no, I don't like this. It's gotta be cask strength. I'm sorry. And I find it amusing because now that one is my sister's favorite. And when we first started out, she was like, oh, this burns. And now she's like, no, this is, again, mad women. She's like, this is what I drink at the end of my day. All of that.
Nice.
That's funny.
So yeah, so you have like you said, the first one is the 6-year
Yes.
bourbon whiskey cask strength, and then your second offering is a wheat whiskey,
Yes.
aged 10 years cask strength.
Yep.
Same proof.
Yeah.
Same proof. Yep.
That's wild.
Same proof. And that one was that was Alton, you know, doing too much, because I said no weeded, because I don't typically like weeded whiskeys. Although I am beginning to think that, well, some of it is I don't like weeded whiskeys that have been proofed down. I don't really like the 10-year at all with ice, like at all. Like for me, that was why I was like adding that little, like doing the math to proof it. I think he told me he thought it should be proofed down to 100. And I was like, oh, this is gross. I'm sorry. I told you this is
That's funny.
Wow, that's
I'll be honest, I'm transparent. This is me all the time.
T-shirt too.
you definitely gotta clip that part, Cal.
I don't know how you gonna make that a T-shirt, but it would definitely be a quality T-shirt. Proof down.
I just need somebody to do a cartoon face. And then we're like, this is
Right. Like the ultimate stank face.
But so it's like, I do think that I like cask. It turns out that I might like cask strength weededs, but I also think like that's where I was talking about that rye, that winter rye. I think that there is something to be said for that winter rye, for the fact that potentially those are all local grains. It doesn't have that same bitter, gross note for me in the bat that I often get with weeded. I know I was talking to on another podcast and they were like, oh, I think it's an acetone note. And I was like, I don't know. I have smelled and accidentally tasted enough acetone in my life doing my nails. I just think that there's something about weeded that I don't like. But this 10-year weeded is so smooth. I love that to me, there's this journey in the glass with this one. You take that sip, it's smooth, and then there's that spice, there's that kick, and then it fades away, but you take another sip and you're still like, it's like every single sip you're pulling more and more out. This one ended up being my boss lady whiskey, the one that I was like, I wanted to put out first, but I thought 10-year, 99 for your first go. That's going to be a lot for people. And so
Right.
we released it second in November of, was that 2024? I don't even know what year it is anymore. So,
I gotta say the nose on this is fantastic.
It's really, really good.
oh, I love, yeah. Well, did you smell the bourbon? Because to me, the bourbon is the one that I like. If I could make a perfume, I would wear the bourbon as a perfume. It has the most rich, inviting, like. But I will admit the weeded is my favorite. Shh, don't tell the bourbon.
I don't remember what the nose is on the first one.
It was good. I think both of the noses are really nice.
I have no doubt.
Definitely different than
But-
the weeded, yeah.
But I don't know why I didn't smell. Probably because it was the first one,
Yeah.
and I was just like, all right, I need to just prime the palate, and kind of let's get rolling here.
You got to circle back now.
I
and
there you
will
go.
have to circle back.
Give yourself a good 2 ounces and just like sit and like. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like, this would make an excellent cologne. All the ladies.
I mean, this one doesn't make a bad one.
And we, I think we can speak for Darius because he was really excited about this. We heard a rumor about a rye possibly soon, maybe?
Yes.
Okay.
And so,
Okay.
feel into this situation, and I'm like, all right, I'm feeling, my heart is telling me put out the rye. But then I'm like, have you seen this shit show of the world right now? I mean, like, I'm just like thinking from an economic standpoint, you're like, that sounds crazy to put out a rye right now, even though everybody's like, oh, I would love the rye. And so I'm thinking that we're gonna do a pre-order situation so I can like truly gauge, all right, who's ready for this rye? Who is willing to like put their money where their mouth is and all that? So I'm not left holding the bag, because the last thing I'm very, very cautious from that standpoint of like, again, I'm building a legacy here. How do we do that sustainably?
You don't want to
And
go
everything.
too hard, too quick.
Exactly.
Well,
And so
and
it's
I
like,
think you have to think about that now with where the market's at too, right? You can't just be
Yes.
throwing SKUs out there.
I
And
feel like
be-
you always got to be thinking about that, especially as a small business,
Right.
a small brand. You have
but
to.
now even more than I would say a couple of years ago. It seems like
I would-
just too much
Yes
to myself.
and no. From like the whiskey market, I would kind of agree.
Yep.
Because people are kind of becoming a
more
little
selective.
more selective. But also because of how crazy the world is, cats need to drink.
YOLO.
that, yes,
YOLO.
I'm just saying.
that
That's
is
true.
exactly what I have a friend, the old fashioned barrister, and she just dropped a ready to drink old fashioned. It's called the Appeal. It's an apple old fashioned. And I know I'm supposed to be talking about New Dawn and repping my own stuff, but it's another black woman owned brand.
There you go.
And
Yeah,
we
shout
all
outs.
brand
Yeah. I
in
think we
my-
follow her.
over here in my
Yeah.
house. And so I am not a ready to drink person. I am not usually, I'm like, nah, it's not
We
that hard
feel
to-
you.
simple syrup, bitters, and whatever. But she has this apple old fashioned, and it is like truly excellent and like excellent. But as she said, we are out here to stick around, to last, and everything. And we will, make our waves. They can be small waves, but they can still be waves, and all of that.
Absolutely.
So like, just trying to make sure that don't grow too fast. But I also will say, like, I'm like, oh, the rye is so, and I keep wanting that for me, because I know there are a lot of people who would say, oh, whiskey is a like winter whatever drink, which is lies. You can drink whiskey all year
All
round.
year.
Big facts.
Right, but this rye is such like, it's got these tropical notes, like it's totally a California girl, okay, is all I'm saying. And like I was like, again, when I tasted it, and I was like, because it's funny because Petro's like, oh, you don't like any of my ryes, and I'm like, it's not that I didn't like your rye, it's that I tasted this one over here and I was like, oh my god, this is a rye, this is giving me California dreaming, sitting on the beach and whatever. And so I really want to release it during the summer in particular, because I feel, but at the same time I'm like, well, maybe I release it in the winter when you're all sitting there like, I'm cold and I wish I was sitting at the beach. And then I'd be like, you have this rye that's going to give you those tropical notes and everything, but it is still a rye. And I just like, I'm so excited, but I'm trying to be
All right.
a responsible business owner.
Cautiously excited.
So
Sounds like a springtime pour.
It's real hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard sometimes. Like, I don't know. Why can't we all be billionaires?
Hey,
I feel you.
from your lips. Is that a toes in the
So
water
many
rye,
things.
too?
Oh, toes in the water. Oh, yes. Toes in the water rye.
That's a good one.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
he has a favorite cocktail from the
T-shirt
that
number
we
5.
call toes in the water.
Yes.
he knows exactly what it is.
Because that's what it makes me think about. So
Right.
if that's what the rye makes you think about, I'm definitely excited to taste that. And so
Yes.
definitely put us on that pre-order.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely send that link this
Definitely.
way.
Or if you need taste testers, I mean,
I
we're
mean,
willing.
and that is, I mean,
We're here to
because
serve.
I feel like there's that part where I'm like, yes, send bottles out, get people to say this is amazing. Like, I gotta sit down and figure out how to do this more responsibly than, I
Right.
mean, this first go round, I quit my job in October. I incorporated a week later. Juneteenth, not even a whole year later, I dropped the 6-year bourbon. I'm
Wow.
like, I literally am like building this, like, there is a little bit of, like, you know, they say building the plane while you're flying it. I am doing that a little bit and all that. But it's like, so I'm like, 3rd SKU, that's like a big leap. And, you know, do you need, like, somebody asked me, do you need 3 SKUs? And I'm like, but I need a rye.
Right.
That's kind of how I feel. I'm like, it's
not about the
I'm
SKU.
tired of drinking bourbon and weeded whiskey. I want to be drinking rye. You know,
Absolutely.
Come on.
Yes. So it sounds like while you were creating this brand, I mean, there were a lot of lessons that you learned along the way. You saying that you quitted your job and then right afterwards you come out straight with a bourbon. How long ago you said was it? What was the timeline?
October to
Within
Juneteenth.
October and Juneteenth
Oh wow.
of the
Wow.
following year. So
That's
yeah.
quick.
What has been your one of your hardest lessons that you learned during the process?
I mean, the whole 3-tier system and distribution.
Yeah.
The hard, like,
Sucks.
I don't like, and truly because nobody knows unless you were like in this, like, I'm sure as podcasters, you talk to everybody like in the industry, and they're gonna be like, the 3-tier system. Oh God, it's killing me. You know what I mean? Like, and then you're like, well, I got to figure out what that 3-tier. But it's like, I don't. There was a way for me to do a 60-second primer on that's like system, because it's like I don't even have distribution in Louisiana. And that's where I live. I live in New Orleans, and I still am working on getting distribution in Louisiana. And it's like killing me. And like somebody emailed because they were like, oh, we picked up a bottle of yours at House Bar in DC and everything. And now we're back home. I think they were in South Carolina, North Carolina. And they're like, we've asked around for it and we can't find it. I was like, yeah, because I don't have distribution.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how to explain. I need the 3-tier system. I need you to understand. If I could just hand you a bottle, oh my God, my life would be so much easier.
Right. Direct
So
to
much
consumer
easier.
would be fantastic.
Cut out the middleman.
And it's like, and it really does on like, that is the thing for me, like in my growth, I will say in the growth of this company, I've been really fortunate that I have met so many amazing people who are walking this journey with me, whether because they are getting into distribution, starting their own brands and everything, or they're just, you know, enthusiasts and everything. And it's just really kind of interesting the way we're all sitting here like, how can we essentially like game this system? Like, how do you beat it as a small brand in particular?
Yeah.
Because yes, the big brands, I mean, they could come out with a new thing every other week and there will always be space for them on the shelves.
Right.
But a new small brand, there's always this, I don't know. And I will say for me, like, you know, I will say the other biggest challenge. So it's that 3-tier distribution, but also I was naive and I thought all I needed was delicious whiskey. Like I was like, what was in the bottle just needs to taste good. And for me, I was like, it needs to taste damn good. It needs to be like really great whiskey. Lies. It just is. There's a reason why you can say, oh, like I will say there's a reason why people are reluctant to try new whiskeys, to put down your hard-earned money, because so many other people are, I will say, winning based on a story, based on good marketing and whatever and all of that. And it's like, I was like, but it's damn good. I swear, it's good whiskey. Like,
Please believe me.
What's your whatever? Yes, exactly. Which is why I had to hire a marketing person, because I was like, I miscalculated.
Right.
I thought I could just go in, pour the glass, and they'd be like, oh, damn, this is good. Yeah, we're gonna no, that's not how it works.
Well, I hope more people get to try it, because it really is fantastic. I'm really excited for this rye, but these are both.
Not gonna lie,
for the first two offerings.
Definitely excited for that rye.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, that says a lot that you tried the first two and you're like, wait, we want the third. And so, I mean, it's like almost like it's all you can wish for. And like at this present moment, I can say it's available to everybody online, and I am still working on getting it to stores, bars, and restaurants and everything. But you want to talk about direct to consumer, the best I can do is be like, call online and then be patient, because it's still not me sending it to you directly.
Right.
Because you would have gotten it on time. I still
We got it. It all worked out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out which one I like more, and I like them both for very different reasons.
I know they are pretty different.
Yeah, for the wheat whiskey, the journey, yes, is there. What stands out to me is I'm getting this rich chocolate note. The chocolate note is
definitely getting that chocolate.
Oh yeah, I'm a chocolate fan.
If someone handed that to me, I wouldn't have guessed that was a wheated whiskey.
Right. No,
I don't think so either.
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It does have a soft kind of palate, which I can kind of get on some of the wheat. You know what I mean?
But not totally, though.
No, not totally. I'm just saying, like, as opposed to the bourbon, which I just think you could tell is a bourbon to me. You know what I mean? Like,
if you go back to back, yes.
But they're both good on their own terms. You know what I mean?
But I think what throws it off with you say the light, but then I'm also getting the spice, and then I get the rich, and then I get the chocolate note, and it's like, what's happening? What's happening with this? You know, like, I'm
it's
really
not your typical
that.
Weeder.
No. That's like I said, that was where I was like, no wheat, and then I was like, I did double blind tasting. It was I tell people, I was like, I started drinking at 10 o'clock in the morning so I could get through all my samples and everything. And I would be like, take a sip, write down my notes, take a couple other sips. And then I would wait an hour, because I was drinking everything a cask drink, and I wait an hour and then go on to the next one and all of that. And I was just as shocked. I want to be like as everybody who's like, this doesn't quite taste like a wheat. And I'm like,
no.
I know, because I was shocked as well when it was like, wow, this is kind of my number one choice. How is that possible?
And that mash bill is I've never seen a mash bill like that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, we've had wheated whiskeys, but I've never had that selection of such high wheat, but yet you still have a lot of, like, the second highest, I think, is the malted barley, right?
Barley,
Which
barley,
I've
and
never...
not the corn. I think that plays, for me, I agree. I think that plays a huge role there. Is that what you're having? It's like 70 wheat, 15 barley, and then 10 corn and 5 rye,
right?
And you're like, well, the corn is like this way back note, which you never. I mean, usually you're going to be like, there's a lot of wheat and we've put some corn in it because it's whiskey and whatever.
And I would have thought the rye would have been like the 15 and the 5 would have been the malted barley.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, that sprinkle of rye, that New York winter rye, she's got something going on.
You definitely salt bathe that rye in
there. So in your journey, what does it mean to you as a Black woman to have a whiskey brand in this industry? What does that mean to you, and why is that important?
Well, I think I mentioned before a little. For me, it's the differences in palate, and so one of the things, and it was interesting to me because I didn't come up with this, but this was my marketing person, and this was just her talking to her friends about this and everything. And she was like, it's a New York brand, like New York whiskeys and everything. They're made in New York. But she was like, but you can tell that it was chosen by a Southern palate because there is so much flavor forwardness going on. You know, that Salt Bay of rye and everything, that nose on the 6 year and everything, that kind of like, it's like warm hug and you just want to like get in there and all of that. And so for me as a Black woman in the industry, that was like one of the big things. Like there was, yes, it's like, oh yeah, and my conservation sustainability side of things, but it's also that you're tasting a different palette. Like I am the one who said, I think that this should come to market. Like that's what I want. Because I know people are like, well, you know, you didn't distill it. You're like, no, I didn't. But I am the one who said, this is good enough to come to market. This is good enough to put my name on it. And so you should try it. And I don't think that there are enough people who understand that like so much of what we have tasted in the past has been a white male palate. And we have had really great whiskeys off of that palate. But when you start thinking about, oh, well, what are your experiences? What are the foods that you've eaten? Like, are you talking about somebody who's eaten globally or who is just had whatever, you know, their mama has, you know, made at home and everything? You're going to start like seeing different flavors and everything. Like for me, I love anise. I have had to like sort of come to terms, anise and cardamom, but that just becomes from a lot of my experience in undergrad where I was hanging out with a lot of, for whatever reason, Indian engineers, even though I was in environmental science and everything. So like really getting into that whole entire flavor profile and all that. My husband is Turkish, same thing. It's like, it just brings in these different flavors. And so for me as a Black woman, it's like, I want to be like, I want to introduce you to seasoning. If you will, because it relates
This is what seasoning tastes like.
Exactly, right? It's like New Dawn with seasoning.
Whiskey
So
with seasoning.
Really
Another t-shirt.
No t-shirt for sure. Something, yeah. We got it.
but yeah, that's what it really means to me.
Is there any pressure at all that comes with that when you think about being a Black woman in the industry?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, I will say, because, well, one, I'll say no one expects a Black woman to show up with cask strength whiskey. And so it's like, there's that pressure too of like getting over the stereotypes that people already think, oh, you're going to have something flavored or whatever. And then it's like, nope, these are cask strength, unadulterated. These are like, to me, I'm like, I'm trying to do whiskeys harkening back to, you know, early 2000s and everything, you know, late 90s. That's where I'm going back to. And it's like, what? Who? You were drinking whiskey? Yes, I was drinking whiskey way back when and all of that. But there's also that pressure in terms of like, you know, and I'll say, I mean, I feel like I want to be like, address the elephant in the room. It's like, especially like when you've got like what's happening with Uncle Nearest and all of that. And it's like, you know, you have these, you know, beautiful stories, these legacies, these brands where you are essentially going into the Black community, but really you're just going into the community and you're saying, take a chance on me and all of that. And it's like, okay, am I being truly transparent? Like there are like where I can be transparent. I'm trying to think, is there anything a secret? I am so terrible at secrets, so don't tell me. So like, yes, and everything. So it's like, am I being transparent? Am I being honest to, you know, the people who are drinking my whiskey and everything? Like, you know, am I, again, building sustainably so it will be around, it won't be this flash in the pan and everything? Am I running my business in a way, like in particular, like, and so I will go speaking directly to the shipping side of things. That is a big frustration for me because I'm like, I don't have the wiggle room that I will argue a white owned brand has, because people are real quick to judge and be like, oh, what kind of business are you running over there? And I'm like, that's not even me. That's a retailer over there in California. Like, it's like, if it were me, everything would be packaged beautifully. You know, we are still trying to, you know, get around the packaging. I think everything comes in a big plastic bubble thing and whatever. And that's just because that's like one of the most common ways and the cheapest way. But it's like, it's not me. You know what I mean? Like if it was me, it would be paper or cardboard or something. And so there is this pressure to be like, the business needs to be run like clockwork. And I will say, I think it was like mid last year, I have just had to start showing up and being like, you need to understand you are working with a Black woman. We have to be excellent.
Right.
And when I say we, I mean this. We have to be excellent because you might be thinking, oh, it's your fault that it's not selling. And I'm like, no, it's not selling because it took too long to get to people and they think I'm running a crazy whatever show over here. And so it's like, pushing everybody to understand this is what we are representing. This is the opportunity too, because you don't want it to be the case that somebody is like, I bought from a Black brand before and that was a crap experience. And you're like,
They paint everybody with that brush. Yeah.
You're holding a lot on your shoulders, but at the same time, I am trying to make my own space and everything. I'm going to be like, I'm Dawn and this is new Dawn. And you're not like other brands and whatever experiences you thought you had previously. Okay, great, whatever. This is a new experience. This is a new Dawn.
Right. I love how you take that context of understanding what it means to be a Black woman in the industry and how that shows up in your leadership and in transparency and your communication and being intentional about how your brand shows up. That's awesome. So yeah, I appreciate that. With that said, looking ahead, what does success look like for New Dawn?
Right.
I mean,
at least the next stage
in
of
the next
success.
few years. Yeah, next year's. Yeah.
I mean, for me, the next stage of success would be, can I swear all the swear words?
Yeah,
do it.
All the things.
I would like distribution in Louisiana. Okay, that is the short term next step. I want to be able to sell my whiskey in my home state, and I know it's like adopted home state, and I'm always like qualifier where I'm like, yeah, but my mother's family is from here and everything, but like truly. I know I was raised in Cleveland. I don't care. I have no love. What is it? This is in Ohio. Isn't that what the kids are always saying and everything? I'm like, whatever. This is in Ohio. Like, that was over there. I showed up in New Orleans. Truly, it was like right after Ida and drove down from New York, showed up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm home. Like, that is what it felt like. I feel more at home here. And I've lived a bunch of different places in my life, more at home here than any of the 6 other places I've lived in my life. But I want to be able to sell in my home state. That is one of the short terms. And then I would and truly now that I am understanding this business more, it's like, I really want to be able to, get solid distribution and placements in the states that we currently are in. So Illinois, DC, Maryland, Garden.
You're good.
The kids are home.
Goodness. I mean, you can't. It's a guard dog, right? I mean, she's 40 pounds and she can't do anything. She occasionally shows up in the Instagram, and everybody's like, "She's so cute," and I'm like, "If you came to the door, yeah, exactly. I will happily give you this dog."
And then immediately take her back.
Well, we always say that she was a scammer because when we rescued her and when we got her, when we saw her in the rescue, she was like the chill dog. All these other dogs were fighting and rolling around and whatever you want to call it. And she was like, la, 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 la. And then we brought her home and then she was like,
she was
I'm actually a pain in the ass. But I love her. It's my Ruby girl. Yeah, I would love to be, stable in the places that we are. But if you were to be like, okay, Dawn, but think bigger. This is the part where we say, okay, put out a rye. And I'm like, maybe I should just make the leap because mezcal is my other love.
Ooh,
and
okay.
That is what I would love to be able to add that to the portfolio, if you will, is
interesting.
I know people would be like, she went from
That'd be a
whiskey to
pivot.
mezcal. And I'm like, Not really. Like, I just feel like mezcal is like the clear whiskey, like in terms of the number of agaves that you can that you can use to make it. There are, what is it? Are there three? I think I know 3 or 4 different ways of actually making it and whatnot. And it's like, you talk about experimentation, like there's the same level of care that goes into making mezcal as whiskey and everything. And then it just like, I don't know, something about that smoky, it just, like I said, it's my second love. And so I'm like, I just want to jump in over there and add that to the portfolio and all that. I have like dreams. You probably will not see a gin or a vodka out of me.
Yeah, right.
There's not a vodka.
It's too girly. Can I say that? I don't want to gender whiskey like that. Whiskey has no gender, nor does mezcal. I take it back.
But vodka does.
I will admit, every single time I go to a tasting and I see somebody, it doesn't even matter if it's male or if it's a woman or a man, and they come up and they're like, I don't really drink whiskey. I drink vodka. And so I just want to be like, and how old are you? Like,
this kindergarten ass liquor.
Come back to me when you really start drinking.
All right.
Yes, I have my biases. I'm working on it. I got a therapist, I swear.
Well, Dawn, I thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
And then I think we started by you asking or inquiring, like, how do you go from science to whiskey? But as we could see, whiskey is both a science and an art form.
And art, yeah.
Very much
Yes.
is.
It's
The reason why I love it.
It's math and it's marketing. It's
All the things.
transparency and it's communication. There's a lot to it, and I think in your journey in whiskey, we definitely were able to hear from you and how all those lessons that you learned, all those experiences that you had to bring this awesome product that we're tasting through right now. And I love the fact we also talked about right here on the label. You're not gonna miss it. You see New Dawn bourbon whiskey, small batch, cask strength, but right there in the middle, black woman owned.
Hey.
Which to me that means
I just wanted to make it easy for the consumers because I know how I am. Where I'm like, what's
It's
the
good
new
marketing.
stuff?
Right,
yes.
It's like,
yeah, that means it was made with intention.
Right.
And so
Yep.
I was definitely excited to try this, and this is delicious.
Absolutely.
We definitely encourage everybody to definitely get you a bottle, either one, and especially that rye that comes out. Ooh, boy, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
It's that mixture of calculated risk and leap of faith.
yes, that is exactly. And now that's like
7.
my own personal motto. Maybe I need that to be a tattoo.
There you go.
Calculated risk and leap of
There
faith.
you go.
Because that is what this endeavor has been for sure. Yes, and
Nice.
I mean, I have no regrets.
Well,
That's awesome.
That's right. No regrets.
we definitely thank you for bringing your craft and experience to the space. We're certainly enjoying, looking forward to what you have planned in the future. And definitely when you're in the New Jersey, New York metro area, we need come down, holla at us, and definitely let us know. We love to do
meet
some
up.
maybe do an event with you, do some experiences with you with the community, know, and definitely
That would be
talk on
great.
Dawn. We would love to do
Introduce you to Jersey, really the tri-state.
Yeah, I mean, that's where my dad's side of the family is from, so I'm familiar with Jersey.
Okay.
And its ways.
We can travel to New York too. That's it.
I mean, it's funny because I spent, obviously as a kid, you spend a lot of time in Jersey because that's where family is from and all of that. And then it's like, then I moved to New York and I was like, these two places really are wildly different.
Wildly different. Can you tell people how to follow you and then like how to get the products as well, like the website?
Yes, super easy. New Dawn Distilling on all the channels except for Twitter. Yes, and TikTok because I refuse.
And Twitter doesn't exist anymore.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's on TikTok. Yeah, like you said, I don't know if they're any on TikTok anymore. I just remember that when I was coming out, they were like, "You should get on TikTok," and I was like, "No, I'm too old for that. I'm not getting on TikTok." So all the channels.
You don't think
Instagram,
you'd hit on
Pinterest.
Truth Social?
Come on, Kat.
No, you don't think you'd be a hit there?
No.
Oh, okay.
Somehow, I think. I mean, that would be the. Why does it have to say black woman?
Right.
I think they would buy it just to hate on it.
I mean, well, that's to me. I always joke. I was like, it says black woman owned, so they won't. So you will never see a bottle of New Dawn involved in a Molotov cocktail anywhere. Nobody's throwing that, lighting it on fire and throwing it, even
that's
if
true.
it is high proof.
We leave that for the vodka.
Right, exactly. Only for the vodka. So yeah, New Dawn Distilling, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, LinkedIn, all the things, Facebook, and then newdawndistilling.com. If you want to check out the blog, we have cocktails. I would say almost every week and whatnot, as well as deep dives into all the questions you could possibly have about whiskey and bourbon, because I kind of feel like I'm learning the new insider things too, and how do we make this accessible to everybody? Like I said, I am transparent, and so I'm like, let me tell y'all. Did you know?
That's awesome.
Because I bet you the answer is no, and I'm not the only one whose blabbers are gasted.
And what do they have to do? Where do they have to go to make sure they could pre-order for the rye when it's available?
Speaking for a friend.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say sign up for the email newsletter. We do not spam and whatnot. I think, well, this month you'll get 3 emails, but most months you get like 1 or 2 emails a month and everything. But that is definitely will keep you in the loop. So if you go to the website, newdawndistilling.com, if a pop-up box comes, sign up for the newsletter, and then I'll post it on all of our socials as well.
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
And we'll have a whole special landing page, etc.
Well, there you have it. Thank y'all for listening. You can definitely catch us at asteadypour.com, at asteadypour on all of the platforms, even
YouTube.
TikTok.
Sometimes TikTok.
we try.
I refuse.
We
I
try.
forget, and then yeah,
Yeah,
Exactly. Nobody needs it. You don't need that.
we might got a few posts on there.
a couple.
But yeah, you could definitely catch us on Steady Pours. Like, subscribe, follow, all those great things. And we'll catch you the next time. Deuces.
Peace.
Cheers.
Well, that concludes this episode of a Steady Pour podcast. Make sure you follow on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Yeah.